Let's go through some of these books that I personally self-published. Some are for clients over the years, okay? I think the best one to start with is my very first one. It's a zine. So we'll get this out of the way here. There you go. So this I did in high school. It just 8.5. Actually, it's 11 by 17, saddle stitched. And I'm not going to go through this too much. I feel like it's a little embarrassing, but not the artwork. I mean, I think for the age of 18, I think my artwork was quite good. You can see here. I mean, it's, I was a bit of a goth. This is a great image. I love this image. Oh, actually, this is my favorite right here. This is, I think, phenomenal. It's kind of iconic. And then the second chapter here. Anyway, the point is, it's not the story. I don't want to show the story, but there's good figurative work. I mean, this is pretty good, even decent lighting for 18. I don't know how I managed to do that. And but I'll include a link where you could read it online if you like. It's in the Billy Ireland Museum, a cartoon museum at Ohio State University. But anyway, this is my first experience with self-publishing. And I just saved up some money and I've printed 60 copies while I was still in high school many years ago. 1996. I think this was done in 95, but I published this particular paper product in 96. So I had to create a little sample where I could figure out the pages and how they would land. So that's a little trick that you have to do, because you have to figure out like the spreads, because this is like, I guess if there's 5 sheets, then there's like 20 pages, and this is the middle. This is the only 2 pages that line up like 9 and 10 or so. And then I had to figure out, like, this is inside cover, this is like page 1, this is page 19, so I made a little thing, and then I figured it out, and then I laid them out on a photocopier. I went to a print shop, and to save money, they let me do it, so they wouldn't have to do the manual work of it. And I did it myself, and I printed all the copies. So that's like the old-fashioned way of doing things. If you just want to get like something out there, and if you're super young, like in high school or something, and you want a paper product. But now it's so much easier, because they didn't have print on demand back then. So now you could, just upload a file and print in so many more convenient ways. Okay, this was the next one that was in line. This is a perfect bound, not saddle stitch like the prior, and it was like the minimum page count that you could do as perfect bound. And I reviewed this. This is my first like graphic novel. Well, I think it's a novel. It's like a picture novel. I have to find a new definition for it, but it's the first chapter in a series of yearly chapters that I publish. And initially, I wanted it printed. And this is laser printed, I believe. And if you zoom in, like, there are some dots that you see. But it's pretty damn good. This is back in 2002. So there's not much to say about this, but this was like, I went into a printer and they printed it, and you negotiate. This is a different printer than the other one for the zine. So I kind of started out like that old-fashioned way, but now again, you could go anywhere. Actually, you could just upload the files anywhere and they'll ship them to you, so it's so much more convenient. This is another experience where I needed extra copies. I had it published to Amazon, and I needed extra copies because that was the period where I was making the live action short film, and I wanted some copies to give away to crew as a thank you. And I used a local printer in Las Vegas, and they weren't equipped to print, books and graphic novels, and the paper quality is just not right. I mean, it's nice stock, but you see, even though they perforated it here, it cracked as soon as you first opened it, so it's not quite as flexible, the paper, and inside it's too thick and glossy, and it's all around like just too hard to handle. That was kind of a bit of a compromise. So the lesson there is that make sure you deal with a printer that has experience printing books, and I recommended this printer because of the cost to another self-publisher, and they wanted to print some hardcover books, and it was a big kerfuffle because they basically printed a soft cover book, and then they had somebody else in town fabricate the hardcover, and then they stapled that inside the hardcover. They stapled that was a whole thing, and my client complained. The printer was stressed because the client was really finicky about the quality, and I actually, out of my own pocket, paid a few $100s to the printer because he was taking a loss in the whole experience. So I was trying to mediate between the two. It was quite an ordeal. So make sure your printer has a lot of experience printing print comics. Whatever you need them to do, make sure they're equipped for just that specialty. All right, so now we're getting into Amazon. I love Amazon print-on-demand products. This is the same interior as the previous book that I showed, but it's a brand new cover based on the artwork that I did for the short live-action film. Now, a live-action short film. And it just flows, good quality stuff. It feels good in your hands. I have, Amazon is the best, way to go about printing your books, I feel. So I'll have a few Amazon samples now. This is the second volume, which it looks like black and white, but you see there is some color. That's one thing you'll encounter, is that you have to decide early on if you're going to go for color or black and white, because it can more than double your cost of production and your margins if you have even the slightest color. So this one, it seemed like it needed color, and I wish I would have planned that better before, because I could have made this a book that could cost, let's say, it could cost me maybe $3-4 to produce, and I could have a much bigger markup. I could make it like $12 as a 90-page graphic novel, and that'd be a pretty good margin for me. One thing to notice with these is that you need a certain amount of thickness to be able to put the text on the side, and you need about 95 or 96 pages for that. That's including the front and back of the actual sheet. So it's about 50 sheets or so. And then otherwise, they just won't let you print. It's just because they don't want to screw up, if the text, if they don't line up the cover properly, and then the text is this way or that, and then I think they're more concerned about having complaints and people sending books back and so forth. There's another sample. This is for a client. I designed the cover for this too, and there's a nice story behind that. But again, they're just under the page count. And I actually suggested to them to try to get it up. You see 91 pages. I thought like, hey, if you want, it'll be so much nicer if you just add a few more pages, but and then we could do the text on the spine. But he didn't think it was that big of a deal. Yeah, because of the artwork, what ends up happening is you have to end up using white paper, especially for color artwork, to show up real nice. And I feel like the white paper for a novel is a bit of a compromise because it's so much nicer in black and white. So this is again Amazon. All the previous, the Big Boss and the Humongous Allies were all Amazon. So with this, I thought from the beginning that I was going to do all the photographs and artworks in black and white. I mean, the Kindle is in color, but I figured, like, why make the markup that huge? Just do it in black and white, and it ends up looking so nice. And the beauty of it is that I can do the cream colored paper, which is so much nicer. Nice cream matte paper. It's just easier on the eyes. The whole experience is, I think, lovely. They're Amazon's paperbacks, like, just flow so nicely. Feels so good in your hands. And you have a lot of different size options. So they're my favorites, really, besides going with an actual printer. This is Ingram Spark. Both these books are Ingram Spark. They do hardcovers, print on demand, and there's actually a children's book that I'll show you momentarily. But first, I want to show you the hardcover, what they can do. The problem is, like, for example, the soft cover, this black and white interior, it's like, I believe it's just under $4, my actual per unit cost for a 200-page book, because it's black and white. This, I believe, is somewhere around like $8 or $9. Yeah, same with my Big Boss, the second volume. The second volume is about $9, $10, and same with that longer 120-page volume. So, but this $4, that's pretty good, and then I could charge like $14, I believe, is the latest price for this paperback. So my markup is pretty damn good on that, and it's worth it because they get content, and it looks great. But even though it's black and white inside for this, the quality is almost the same as the Amazon quality, but with Ingram Spark, you get the hardcover option, and the hardcover option marks up the price to, gosh, I forget the latest, but it's like, it's nearly like $20, to be honest. So, it's nearly $20. Actually, they changed it. I just ordered these, and they changed a bit of the quality here. There's a little bit smoother. Oh, this is interesting. Just noticed this. You see? Look what they did here. Now they're actually printing on a plastic, whereas before they actually had the foil, and you could feel like this is like, this is interesting. So, because it's print on demand, they simulate the style of a traditional hardcover book. And this is the closest to the hardcover book that's like traditional. But I've seen hardcovers from years ago, and they're just better produced. So, like, when you feel these, it's nice. You know, it's as good as it gets for print on demand. But when you feel these, it just, like the glue is kind of cracking. And I had the experience of sending one of these books to review, one of my books, and as the guy read it, he read it through and through, and a couple of pages came out. The glue, you know, they just ended up loose. That happens with some pages, I mean, some books, inevitably. But I feel like overall the quality of books have deteriorated over the years. But what's made up for that is the availability of being able to print low-cost hardcover books. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. But anyway, overall, this is pretty good. And I think the improvements that they made was maybe based on what was happening before, because this is a little dry. It's an older version, and I just ordered these. And it seems like they're a little bit more glued, and maybe you can't tell, but it's like more elasticy material. It's almost like a smooth, well, it's definitely smooth, so it's not like grainy like a canvas. So this might be an improvement, and hopefully everything will hold up better over time of these hardcovers. So yeah, the cost for hardcovers goes up, but this is so nice to get the dust jacket. I mean, look how beautiful this is. Nice colored dust jacket. It just looks so professional. And this is what you want if you want to get your books to libraries. You want a nice copy to send out to them. Like, look how amazing this is. I mean, I designed it and I drew the artwork, but you know, it just looks amazing. So I'm really happy with that. And this one, which is for a client I designed and did the layout for, this has like some notes actually, but the key to notice is that it's color. So because of the color, I had to use white paper, and I'm not a fan on that for reading purposes. I feel like I'd prefer tinted paper, but the compromise is if I use tinted paper, the artwork colors will be diluted or changed, so they won't be as vibrant. And this is matte. I think I'm revising this for a coffee table book, and for the coffee table book, it's very likely that I'm going to use glossy paper. So hopefully that'll work. Maybe that'll be hard on the eyes. We'll see. I'll have to order that mock-up first, and then we'll see. But this is nice. And you saw this is the old version of Ingram Spark with more like an embossed feel. But I feel like I said, the new version is probably going to be more elasticy and will last longer. Knock on wood. Okay, let's go children's books. This was with Ingram Spark too. So I just haven't cracked it open in a while. But this is nice. You could do full bleed as long as you know how to lay out the book. I didn't do the artwork for this, but I did the layout and the production. So I picked out all the paper and everything. And I did this layout, which is pretty simple. And I believe I did this layout. Yeah, so they do pretty nice hardcover children's books. And that could be a good option. This is Ingram Spark for hardcover books. But now KDP, Amazon, also offers hardcover books. It's like a beta version. So they're going to be competing in that market. And I'll probably try it very soon, maybe with the new revised art book for my client. I'll try it, and then I'll see. I'll try to update you guys if I do have that experience. Okay. This is another one from Amazon. Again, it's like too thin, but it's just barely the page count where you could publish. This is a good example because it brings up the point that, like, with Amazon, they don't do saddle stitched, so they won't do like a comic book like this over here. So so you have to have a minimum page count of about like 50 pages, I believe, and then they'll do a really thin perfect binding. Perfect binding is glue on the side. So that's a good point to remember, that with Amazon, you can print comics, but they have to be a minimum page count. You can't do like old school single issues of 22 pages each. And this again is color, which hiked up the price. I mean, it would be easier if it was, either black and white or not, because I forget what they had to eventually charge for this. But I helped with the production. I didn't do the artwork, but I helped. I did the text design and the logo, and I didn't do too much on this layout, but yeah, I helped produce it. This is an early version of that Ingram Spark book, and what's interesting to note about this is Book Baby. So it's a bit of a contentious thing with me because my client was eager to self-publish, and he went with Book Baby, where it was a vanity press, and he had to pay. He paid for some advertising, I guess, which wasn't really worth it in my opinion. And then he got 100 copies of the book, but it was it's an early cover design. It was before I did the hardcover, and I feel like the trigger was pulled too early. I should have insisted, I think, to just hold off, do it right. And there's a lot that I don't like about Book Baby, because one thing, like this, he printed 100 copies, and then it was only after these copies. I mean, the pictures are nice. Actually, they're quite nice and vibrant, which is surprising. I hadn't seen this in a while, but the font is too small, so we had to adjust that. That was something that was realized. So we would have benefited from using more time to consider some of these. But overall, you can't tell, but I can tell. I feel the paper quality, and this is just like, it's your standard, spindle of inkjet or laser jet paper that you could get at Staples. It's your standard copy. I don't think they even offer cream color paper. They have no variety or no special options for the selection of paper. The color on the cover is terrible, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure this is not how it looked, because you see on the hardcover, like, how vibrant it is. You see, like, quite a difference. So something went wrong. It was like maybe a CMYK or RGB issue, and we're forever trying to figure that out. And I just don't. I don't recommend Book Baby. The only good thing about Book Baby is their customer service is pretty damn good, but they're just, it's not really that helpful when you don't like the quality. So, they're helpful for a price. So you can complain to them, or get them to help you, and then they'll just tack on a fee and make whatever adjustments you need. But at every point, like once you approve something, even if you approve it digitally, It's just like if you want to change that, yeah, it's like another $100 minimum to resubmit a digital proof. So they always have to make their fees, and I just don't feel like they're worth it based on only generally based on the lack of variety that they offer in terms of paper quality. And lastly, this is a saddle-stitched comic book. This was printed with Graco Printing, but there's also Kablam, and I think there's a couple of other competing ones, but Graco and Kablam is pretty good. I picked the thickest stock for this, I believe like 80-pound gloss, 60-pound interior. It just feels great. I remember the client for later copies, because he was trying to save like, I don't know, 50 cents or something like that. He went for thinner copies, and I don't know, I didn't recommend it. I thought like just, hey, it's an indie comic. You know, like if it costs you $3.50, $4 per issue, for indie comics, especially if you go to a convention, it's acceptable to ask like $10 an issue, and that's what we did. $10. Sometimes he'd ask $8, but then you got to break change. But at the convention, you know, $10 a signed issue. You have the author or the artist there. It's not a big ask, you know, not nowadays. But if you could make it $5, it's good. I think like the more copies you order, the better. The minimum is 25 copies for Graco Printing. So you'll always have a minimum. With Kablam, one of the nice little features is that once you submit your comic and you get a proof for the print comic, you have the option to publish it on Indie Planet, which is like an independent platform of indie comics. So you have a little network, and people can download digital copies from there, or they could order print on demand through their system. I believe like the turnaround on those is not as quick as Amazon. Even Amazon takes a little bit of a while, like maybe a 2-week turnaround. Ingram Spark takes very long. Like actually I ordered 5 copies of It's a Living December 22nd, I believe. And I got them the other day, which was January 22nd, 23rd, or 24th, something like that. So, so it was a full month, which is a pretty long wait. You got to really plan. Like if you have like a live speaking engagement or convention, you better plan those ahead and put those orders in. But once everything is set up and your proof is approved, you know, then you're set. You don't have to like go back and forth on approving the proof. What else did I want to say about Graco Printing? Oh, Graco Printing and Kablam, you have an option to add an ad either on the back cover or inside back cover, where they could advertise their services. And when you do that, you could save on the cost of printing. I've seen a lot of artists do that. I don't recommend it. I feel like it compromises like your brand. So I understand that it's, you know, it saves money, but I try not to do that. I'm telling you what these printers are that I use, but generally I would prefer that I don't advertise the printers, that people focus only on the artwork or the book or the novel or the story, you know. So I don't like to use ads. Maybe I would feel differently at some point, but generally, no. I sometimes put ads for my own books. So I believe, let's see. Right, so here I put an ad for Read the Prequel, Big Boss Gun for Hire, and there's a picture to that. So I do that. But one thing you should know about ads, in Amazon, they don't let you promote that it's at Amazon. You can't put their logo and promote it as like, you know, check out Amazon for this book. They'll let you do this, but just not specify that it's on Amazon. It's a strange thing because you think like, oh, they'd want the advertising, but they don't allow that for some reason, which I haven't really thought out yet. So that's it. These are like the experiences that I've had with books, and that's it. So hope you enjoyed. Hope that was helpful, and I'll try to add more if I come across them over the course of my experience, and I'll keep adding to the course.